there's so many levels here, but I do believe that this is the end of the Beto O'Rourke phenomenon.
Yeah, I think he's toast.
What are the lessons that we should draw from what we just saw?
Well, I think that you can run in the moderate lane as the Bobby Kennedy candidate so long as there's not anything newer on the block. Buttigieg came along and drank his milkshake, and he had some intersectional credibility. The problem for Beto is that he happened to be straight and also white, just like Bobby Kennedy was. Buttigieg is gay, so therefore he takes precedence. Also, he speaks more languages, like Norwegian, which is a language that is very much in vogue with the media these days. And he doesn't just play guitar, he also plays piano, and he does it with Ben Folds 5 and the whole deal. So Buttigieg has basically stolen all of his momentum, and I think you're right. I mean, I think Beto is toast here.
Speaking Norwegian and playing the piano, and I'm being sincere, are actually impressive things to do, for sure, and I'm impressed by them. But they're not really policy prescriptions. They're not ideas that are going to improve America. Neither is who you sleep with relevant to running the country, as far as I can tell, or any of these criteria meaningful. So, like, where's the part where we get to debate their ideas for the country?
Well, the problem is, obviously, that there's only one thought leader in the Democratic Party right now, and that's Bernie Sanders. And what you're seeing is a bunch of candidates who are attempting to steer into the Bernie Sanders lane. And there's no room in that lane. Bernie Sanders has occupied that entire lane. And you talk about ideas candidates. The one candidate who keeps shouting ideas from the rooftops is, of course, our Native American candidate, Elizabeth Warren, who keeps spouting ideas every 5 minutes. There's a new policy prescription. Why isn't anyone paying attention to me? And the answer is because you are in Bernie Sanders' lane. He is the thought leader in this lane. Well, in the moderate lane, there are no thought leaders. They're just a bunch of people with platitudes. Biden is presumably the thought leader, but Joe Biden doesn't have enough thoughts to be a thought leader. And so who exactly is going to come along and occupy that lane while still being able to win over the woke intersectional base of the Democratic Party? Whoever does that has a possibility at the nomination. Right now, Buttigieg can do that only insofar as he can speak the platitudes that sound moderate, but when he's actually pegged down, as you've noted, he's just as far left as Bernie Sanders is.
There's a guy telling us what a great Christian he is who's for abortion up until birth. And for sex selection, spare me your Christian talk, please. It's absurd. I'm just struck, though, by Bernie could be the one guy. I mean, I want to have a conversation about ideas, because I think it's important. And clearly, we need to make some changes to the way the country's going. But Bernie doesn't really seem to be an ideas candidate when you listen to him. He almost never says anything. Unlike Elizabeth Warren, he never says anything interesting. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I think that his ideas are so radical, but they are consistent. And so everybody has followed him out to the fringe. So you can shout Medicare for all, and what you'll see is every Democrat then pay homage to Medicare for all. Footnote, we don't really want Medicare for all. We want sort of a gradualistic plan that may achieve Medicare for all sometime in the future.
Right.
But everybody is trying to imitate Bernie. Bernie is the guy who is really running this race. Bernie's almost in a position right now that Trump was in 2016, where everybody in the Democratic Party who's running is afraid to tick him off because they hope that eventually he'll collapse and they'll get his support. But he's riding at 25 to 30% in virtually all of the polls. That support is extraordinarily durable. I don't think that it's going anywhere. And so he can just steer that lane. He could win Iowa, he could win New Hampshire, he could do well in California and New York. There's a reason that Democrats are running scared of Bernie. And what is puzzling to me is that they are so interested in what the journalists on Twitter say, this kind of echo chamber in the media say, that they won't just go to where the mainstream of their own party is, which is the moderate area, right? Joe Biden is a terrible candidate. He's actually leading in most of these polls because he is perceived as a moderate.
Totally true.
But that was true of Beto and Buttigieg, by the way. The reason both of them were doing well for a moment there was because they are both perceived as moderate with all of the platitudes. And then when you get down to policy, it turns out that they want to be more like Bernie than like Biden. Nobody in the Democratic Party actually has the stones to run as a moderate inside the Democratic Party, even though it's probably the best possible way for them to win the nomination.
And I think you're absolutely right. And your diagnosis is that they are captive of social media, and that's why?
I think they're captive of social media. I think they're captive of the intersectional woke base. I think they're afraid that they are going to be held hostage to the dictates of the New York Times editorial board and people suggesting that they're not woke enough if they don't pay homage to the latest flavor, slavery reparations, or whatever it is today.
I think the person who gives the finger to that mob gets the support of millions.
I think that's right, and then has a good shot in the general.
Right.
But I don't think any of them have the actual
You'll probably get my support. I mean, if someone were to stand up and say, you know what, I'm not taking orders from you. How's that sound? I don't almost, you don't even care what the person is for. I'd probably vote for him. Because I'm so desperate for that.
I mean, that is why, if a Democrat actually were able to do that, they would win sweeping support. But they can't do that. But we've been saying this for years. All you have to do is not be crazy, and they can't stop themselves. They just can't.
So good. That's true. Great to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you, too.